Why does the one who owns less live richer? I want to start by telling you about two apartments. Same city, same neighborhood. It could be Brooklyn, Astoria, or Chicago's Wicker Park. Where it is doesn't matter. What it is does. The first apartment. You open the door, an 85-inch TV on the wall, a $4,000 leather sofa set, the living room packed with luxury items. In the kitchen, appliances still in their boxes. In the closets, clothes with tags still on. The spare bedroom has turned into a storage unit for things untouched for years. The owner of this apartment earns $95,000 a year, and every morning when he opens his bank account, his stomach knots. He's afraid, tense. The second apartment. You open the door, the first thing you notice, space. A simple couch, a reasonably sized TV. In the kitchen, only the appliances that are actually used. In the closets, only the clothes that are actually worn. The spare bedroom is an actual bedroom. No excess, no unnecessary clutter. The owner of this apartment earns $52,000 a year. And every morning when she opens her bank account, she looks at the screen with a calm smile, relaxed and at peace, no fear. Because she has savings equal to 18 months of expenses, and she sends 20% of every paycheck into investments. Same neighborhood, almost half the salary, 10 times more financial security. Strange and hard to make sense of when you look at it. For years I've been carried in people's pockets. I've seen them both, and I can tell you this isn't a story about income. This is the story of that hidden relationship between possessions and money, a relationship most people never understand, yet one that governs the entire balance of their finances. Today, I'm going to tell you about that relationship, with all its rules, all its traps, and all its ways out. If you're ready, let's begin. Chapter 1. Everything has two prices. I'm going to tell you something that will change every purchasing decision you make for the rest of your life. Everything you own has two prices. The first price is the visible one, the number on the receipt, the money you hand over at the register. Everyone knows this one. It's what's written on the price tag. The second price is invisible and often bigger than the first. Think of it this way. My owner bought a treadmill, $2,000. "I won't pay for a gym membership anymore," he said. It sounded reasonable, but he never calculated the second price. That treadmill takes up space in the home. In big cities, once you calculate the annual rent cost per square foot, that treadmill quietly pays hundreds of extra dollars in rent every year without anyone noticing. Add maintenance costs on top, and things get even more interesting. Add insurance on top of that. And then there's the mental energy it consumes, because every time you see it, you think, "I should have used this today." And that feeling wears you down. Guilt. And of course, there's the opportunity cost. If that $2,000 had grown in an index fund for 15 years, it could have reached $5,000 or $6,000 just by sitting there, doing nothing. You didn't actually buy a treadmill. You sold off a small piece of your financial freedom and got plastic and metal in return. You could have run outside or taken a walk in the park, couldn't you? If you already own a treadmill, don't feel bad. Let's move on. Let's do the same math with a boat. A $30,000 boat generates roughly $3,000 a year in maintenance, storage, insurance, and registration costs, even if you never put it in the water. You pay more simply for owning it. The people called minimalists, meaning those who own less, always run this calculation, not because they hate belongings. Everyone loves nice things, but because they calculate the second price and say, "Not worth it." This is the first rule that changes everything, and it matters far more than you'd think. Chapter 2. Cost per use, the one honest calculation. Now I'm going to teach you an honest calculation method that will change how you see everything. This is the sacred rule of minimalists. Cost per use. Before buying anything, ask yourself this: how many times will I realistically use this? Then divide the price by that number. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per use. A $400 jacket worn 200 times costs $2 per use. Which one is actually more expensive? Which one makes more sense to buy? This calculation instantly kills most impulse purchases. A pretty good trick, isn't it? Let's say a $300 kitchen gadget gets used twice a year. That's $150 per use. That means every time you use that gadget, you're spending $150. What meal would you pay $150 to make? But the same math also reveals the right decisions. A $2,000 mattress used every night for 10 years comes out to about 55 cents per use. That's one of the best investments in the world because it affects your health and energy every single night. A good $500 pair of shoes worn daily for 5 years costs about 27 cents per use, a value that cheap shoes simply can't compete with. Because a lower quality pair you buy instead probably won't survive 5 years of daily wear. This calculation shuts out marketing, emotion, and social pressure. It tells you only the truth. Listen to that voice. I am a wallet, and I've seen firsthand what difference this calculation makes in people's wallets. You can believe me. Chapter 3. The Replacement Test. What you actually want. Now I'm going to give you an exercise. You can do it at home, even tonight. Look at each of your belongings and ask yourself this: if this item disappeared tomorrow, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest with yourself. Would you replace the bread maker, that toaster, the clothes you haven't worn in 18 months, the ones whose existence you'd forgotten, the exercise equipment just sitting there? For most things, the honest answer you have to give is no. These items exist in your life because of a passing impulse. They were bought on a whim. They became gifts you couldn't hide from out of obligation. Or maybe they're leftovers from some past version of yourself. And now let me tell you something. The items you wouldn't replace, wouldn't buy again, they actually carry negative value. They take up space, drain your mental energy, demand upkeep, and in return, they give you nothing at all. Minimalists are, in a sense, people who ruthlessly filter out these belongings. They sell what has value. They donate what would be useful to someone else. What's left, the unnecessary, they throw away. This process can feel uncomfortable at first, but afterward it becomes incredibly liberating. The psychological weight of owning things you don't actually want to own is hard to describe, but instantly recognizable once you feel it. Once you lift that weight, rooms seem bigger, fewer belongings, more freedom, more empty space. Decisions feel easier. Cleaning takes half the time. You know where everything is, because everything that remains has a purpose, because you've rid yourself of everything that didn't. Chapter 4. Being bored is not a reason to upgrade. Now, there's something important we need to talk about, and it's spread like an epidemic among high-income people. Replacing things that work perfectly fine simply because you're bored of them. The TV works perfectly, but the new model has slightly better contrast. The phone functions flawlessly, but the new version's camera is a bit sharper. The car runs without a single problem, but this year's model looks sleeker. It just looks nicer to your eye. The furniture is still solid, but you've had it 3 years and now you're bored of it. These upgrades feel like progress, but if you really look at it, this is wealth destruction disguised as progress. The vast majority of Americans replace their phone every 2 to 3 years, even while the previous phone still works perfectly. Over 30 years, this habit alone reaches $30,000 to $50,000 in phone spending. When it spreads across every category, the lifetime cost of unnecessary upgrades easily exceeds $200,000. That's an enormous expense, thousands of dollars that could have gone toward things actually worth something. $200,000 wasted just by replacing things that still work. Minimalists have a rule: don't touch it, don't replace it, unless it's truly broken. Being bored doesn't require replacing something. Wanting something new doesn't mean that product is broken. Your neighbor buying a newer one doesn't mean you need to get something better than theirs. A real malfunction, a real inadequacy, that's what broken means. Everything outside of that is just a marketing strategy convincing you to spend money solving problems you don't actually have. Chapter 5. Build a system. Don't trust willpower. Now, I'm going to tell you something very important. Your willpower runs out. As you make decisions throughout the day, your mind gets tired. In the evening hours, your resistance to spending sits at a much lower level than it does in the morning. That's why people who rely on willpower lose. People who rely on systems win. In a sense, your own willpower turns into a system working against you. People who live minimally make spending harder. They make saving easier. There are a few things you can do to make spending harder. Deleting saved card information from online stores, setting a 24-hour waiting rule for any non-essential purchase, not installing shopping apps on your phone, unsubscribing from promotional emails, not going to a store without a genuine need. All of this reduces your spending far more than you'd expect. Making saving easier looks like this. On payday, an automatic transfer goes out before the money is ever seen, straight into savings. Keeping only small amounts in easily accessible accounts. Treating savings as a fixed expense, not as whatever happens to be left over. These structural changes are far more powerful than willpower, because the system is always there, but willpower abandons you exactly when you're tired or stressed. It ends up acting like an enemy toward you. And remember this number, it's very important. The 24-hour waiting rule eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchase urges, because most urges, if not satisfied immediately, disappear within a day. I'm a wallet, trust me, and I've personally watched how the wallets of people who follow this rule get a little heavier month after month. Now you might say, what's the point of this? It sounds obsessive, but only until you actually do it. Counting creates awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation. Pick a category. Count how many items you own in that category. The number usually shocks people. How many shirts do you have? Most people find it's 2 to 4 times what they guessed. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many books you'll never read again? What's sitting at the very back of your drawer that you'd forgotten even existed? After learning you have 47 shirts, buying the 48th feels different. The absurdity becomes visible. Minimalists track key categories over time. They set a maximum threshold, maybe 30 pieces of clothing total, maybe 15 books, maybe a one-in, one-out policy. Every new purchase requires deciding what leaves. They strike a good balance between acquiring and letting go. This constraint is what allows the lifestyle to hold. Without deliberate limits, belongings spread to fill whatever space is available. With limits, every addition requires a conscious decision. Chapter 7. Rent or borrow before you buy. Most of what people buy follows this same pattern. Intense use at the start, maybe every day, every week, every month, then gradually fading interest, then years of sitting untouched, gathering dust in a corner. The excitement of novelty fades. The initial enthusiasm and interest disappear. The item joins the collection of things that are owned but rarely used. Minimalists test this pattern before ownership by renting or borrowing first. If someone develops an interest in camping, they rent the gear for the first few trips. Woodworking experiments start with tools borrowed from a friend or used at a makerspace. A passion for skiing gets measured through a few rentals before any purchase. This approach accomplishes two things. First, it reveals whether the enthusiasm is real or fleeting. Many interests fade after the first attempt. It's far better to discover this while renting than after buying. Second, it clarifies exactly what you actually need. First-time campers tend to buy either too much or the wrong things. Renting lets you learn before committing. America's garages and basements are full of museums of abandoned hobbies. The music equipment of a band that played 2 shows, the camera of someone who thought they'd become a professional photographer, the ski gear of someone who imagined they'd hit the slopes regularly. All of it sitting in storage, waiting to gather more dust. Minimalists don't add to the museum of past enthusiasm. They test before they own. This is what keeps thousands of dollars in their pocket. Now let me tell you something most people never think about. Every major item triggers other items. You bought a boat, now you need a trailer. The trailer needs a vehicle that can tow it. You need storage space. You need safety equipment. You need the right clothing. Maintenance supplies have to be bought. I'm getting tired just listing them, and you'll actually have to buy them. What looked like a single purchase actually set off an entire ecosystem. This is the lifestyle multiplier effect. Big purchases turn into chains of related expenses. The real cost is never just the item itself. What follows always comes. You set up a home gym. You need flooring. You need a mirror. You need storage solutions. Ventilation has to be considered, and often renovations are needed just to make the space usable. You bought a pool, chemicals, cleaning equipment, a cover, furniture, maintenance tools, and often landscaping to finish the installation. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. They realize that a $5,000 purchase actually costs $8,000 or $12,000 once all the multiplied expenses are included. And that calculation turns something that seemed reasonable into something clearly excessive. The multiplier effect also works in reverse. Giving up one major item eliminates an entire category of related expenses. Selling the boat means the end of storage, insurance, registration, maintenance, and towing costs, all of it. The savings go far beyond the value of the item itself. Closing. I started by telling you about those 2 apartments. Now let me tell you the truth. This story was never about income. It was never about income. The person earning $52,000 a year who wakes up calm every morning because of 18 months of savings isn't doing anything extraordinary. They didn't inherit money. They didn't win. What you own should nourish you. It shouldn't consume you. Your belongings should serve you. You shouldn't serve them. They should never force you into anything. After watching this, I want you to do something. Pick a room in your house. Apply the replacement test. Ask, would I buy this for everything that disappeared tomorrow? And whatever the first no answer is, remove it today. Get rid of it. Just one thing, a small start. Because the biggest changes always begin with the smallest decisions. Own your money. Own your life. See you in the next video.